Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit bmwusa.com for details.
Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest. There's something so thrilling about playing Chumba Casino. Maybe it's the simple reminder that with a little luck, anything is possible. ChumbaCasino.com has hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new game releases each week. Play for free anytime, anywhere for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This is a Fatal 4 podcast. It's the Didn't Get All of It Year-End Awards.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2024 Didn't Get All of It Year-End Awards Best of 2024 Award Show. I am your host, Paul Griffin, and joining me is the rest of the Fatal Four, including Cody.
I'm here and wearing my spiffiest tuxedo. You guys just can't see it.
Also here wearing a tuxedo t-shirt, Noah.
It's my spiffiest one. I'm also wearing some nice cargo shorts with it. My only the best for the most prestigious awards of the year.
And also here, the B stands for Black Tie Event. It's B-Rob.
Boy, you had me nervous when you said black.
Hey, normally that's for us to be concerned about.
Yeah, you got it. I have a monocle and a top hat.
Welcome, folks. This is our first year-end award show with Didn't Get All of It. So if you're new to the show, or you've been around, or you've heard our other show in the past, please stick around because we have an award show ahead of you. But before we get into all of that, just want to remind you, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast. You're listening to it right now somewhere. Just hit the subscribe button. And if you really like us, hit us up at patreon.com/fatal4pod. For $3 a month, you get bonus shows and access to the Discord. $5 a month, even more bonus shows and all of the good stuff that comes with the $3 tier, including coming up tomorrow in your podcast feed. The 2024 Worst of Awards will be exclusive to Patreon, both tiers. So feel free to sign up now and get all of the negativity you can shake a stick at, as well as other content on the way. But before all of that, we do have awards to get to. So let's kick it off.
Men's Wrestler of the Year.
So I mentioned this to you guys privately, that I was going to come out swinging with my Wrestler of the Year choice.
Mm-hmm.
My Men's Wrestler of the Year, Will Ospreay. This is my justification. Here's my reasoning. As someone who is
good. No shit.
Well, yes, but as someone who's a hard WWE stan lately, I feel like this is a big surprise for people, especially for me, because as I was thinking of Wrestlers of the Year, tons of good wrestlers up and down, but Will Ospreay is like the one guy that can get me to pay attention to AEW, and even made me think Kyle Fletcher wasn't a big dork. So he fucking rocks, and I think he should have a huge year in 2025. So that's why I picked him as my Wrestler of the Year. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have picked for your Wrestler of the Year, like Cody.
Well, when it comes to picking Wrestler of the Year for me, my thought process is
CM Punk.
Well, hold on now.
B-Rob's not your turn.
That's his thought process. That's not hard.
No, see,
either him or Logan Paul.
If this award was favorite Wrestler of the Year, CM Punk, hands down. But that's not what this is. This is best Wrestler of the Year. So my thought process is always throughout the year, I will keep track of all of my favorite matches. Every time I watch a match that I really, really love, I will immediately add it to this ongoing list that starts on January 1st. And when it comes to the end of the year and picking my wrestler of the year, I look at that list and I go, all right, what wrestler appears the most on this list?
Very scientific.
Yeah, right? Like if there's one person that is in a bunch of matches that I really enjoyed this year that were in contention for my favorite match of the year, how could I not give it to that person for wrestler of the year? So that being said, the person that fits that criteria this year would be none other than the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes.
You just picked it because he got your name.
No,
It's a
Cody
great name.
spells it with a C.
It's a great name. Love that name. But looking at my list of favorite matches, I mean, ever since he won the title at WrestleMania, he has delivered. His match with Logan Paul, his match with AJ Styles,
all the stuff that he was doing leading up to WrestleMania, like outside of like the ring too, just really great.
And his WrestleMania stuff, like he had all of it. And I'm really enjoying the stuff with Kevin Owens right now, like the promo work, the in-ring content itself. Like I don't think there's anybody in the world that was better than Cody Rhodes this year.
I think that is super, like, that is extremely legitimate. That is a very solid pick. It's one that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
My pick for the 2024 Men's Wrestler of the Year, there are a lot of good choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure this was my pick last year, or, you know, it would have been if we had a podcast last year. Who can say? You guys remember doing podcasts?
I don't think we ever did it. This is the first podcast we've ever done.
This is the first one we've ever done.
It's definitely our podcast of the year.
Yeah. So I'll say on my podcast of the year. I will say on my personal list from last year, I'm pretty sure I remember giving it to this person. But I think I'll have to give it up again. Swerve Strickland. This dude, like, he was world champion of AEW from April to August. Before that was Samoa Joe. After that was Bryan Danielson, and now Jon Moxley. And I feel like Joe's reign was fine. I know B-Rob's got some issues. And then Bryan Danielson's, just like, his was interesting because it just felt like a ticking time bomb on his in-ring career. And Jon Moxley, there's a lot of mixed opinions about how that's going. So I feel like Swerve has really been the only time this year that the championship really felt legitimate. Like, it felt like it was important, and that, like, wrestling Swerve was like a big moment, a big deal. And I feel like that's reflected in a lot of the main events at the pay-per-views this year. So I have to give it to Swerve Strickland for really kind of carrying this company on his back this year, kind of keeping it afloat, as it's kind of been, AEW's been kind of going through some hard times, but whenever Swerve is there, it's always interesting and has a lot of energy, and, you know, some quality stuff will happen when Swerve shows up.
I feel like their complaints of the company were also lesser when he was champion.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's a good point.
Just saying.
Noah and I both picking the QB1s for the two major promotions.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, B-Rob, you're up.
Well, honorable mention.
You can't pick Brian Keith.
I can do what the fuck I want,
can't
sir.
pick Brian Keith. There's nothing.
Just for that, I changed my pick. It's Brian Keith.
No.
Nope.
Who was your other
Write it
pick?
down. I see you typing it in the note. Put it
Not
down.
writing nothing down.
All right, I'll put it then. Now, honorable. What? Brian Keith is always number one in my heart. Honorable mention for me is Will Ospreay. Anytime this dude is in the ring, is spectacular, and I love everything that he's doing. They're telling a little bit of story with him now, but up until this point, he's just been having a lot of kick-ass matches. So
It's a real shame he can't handle the travel.
but he's my honorable mention. But I agree with Cody. There's been a lot of moments with Cody, and just to build up to WrestleMania and him ultimately winning that title. It's been a cool ride and everything. So, I mean, some good stuff over there. But my pick, and I agree 100% with Noah and some of the other sentiments that you gentlemen have said, I too have picked Swerve Strickland.
Yeah.
Dude has just been killing it or whatever, and it has been great to like see something a little bit different, you know, as far as their title scene and everything. And just, I mean, the handling of him had been different. Just the way he carried himself as a champion had been different from what was previous and would even to follow and everything. And it's just like he continually ups the ante on his badassery, and I like that very much so.
Look at us, all picking AEW wrestlers for our Wrestler of the Year.
Well, I
Wait,
guess
hey! Yes. I'm pretty sure
AEW
he's still
original
getting a
Cody
check from AEW.
I don't know how that works, but maybe.
Residuals,
Sure.
his likenesses, his name stuff, merch that they still have from there, video packages. So he still have to pay likeness and all those other rights and everything. So he's still getting paid from AEW.
Well, that was the Men's Wrestler of the Year. I think we debated this earlier when we were deciding on how we were going to do this. Would we break up men's and women's? And I think it still makes the most sense. Maybe next year we can merge them and just do gender neutral wrestler.
Best
of the year.
overall wrestler.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. But in the meantime, we do have our next category.
Women's Wrestler of the Year.
Paul, you gave a good guess this last round. Who you think I'm gonna pick for the ladies? Brian Keith, right?
I don't know, some indie wrestler named Brianna Keith, probably.
I actually, my hunch is that B-Rob and I have picked the same Women's Wrestler of the Year.
Oh, I doubt it though.
But you'll have to wait.
Honorable mention. I think, if anything, I guess it's a personal favorite. Willow Nightingale. I really like everything that they've done with her or whatever. I wish they would do more with her or whatever. But like, they have a story going on and whatnot, and she'll get her time to shine, and I will bask in the rays of that glow. But it was hard for me to pick my Women's Wrestler of the Year, because part of me really wanted to lean into Jordan Grace. Part of me really
what does that have to do with wrestling?
Huh?
What does that have to do with wrestling?
Oh, I see what you did there.
How's B-Rob late to the sex jokes?
Well, I was like, no, what I really thought in my brain when you said that, because Paul, you are the showrunner. I thought I went into Women's Match of the Year. I was looking at the wrong category. But, oh man, I really don't know. And it's funny that you say that me and you might have the same pick, because it was hard for me to pick. And I think that I'm going to go with, and it's selfish of me, it probably won't make any sense to anybody else but me. I'm going to go with Mariah May. I've loved her since I've come to know who she is as a professional wrestler. And when she came into this company, just kind of like the way she was kind of tied with Tony Storm, it kind of irked me a little bit. But to see the story unfold as is, and with her ultimately becoming the women's world champion, I enjoy her. I mean, I don't think there's a bad match that she's had, only bad opponents. But everything she does, she kills it. Her extracurriculars, as far as like interviews outside of their television, freaking her backstage promos, I think she has it all, and I really enjoy everything that she's doing.
Tell me if this is a weird pick, or
It's
it might be
not for you.
a little like maybe not as obvious. This lady has been really kind of been doing like really great support work this year, I would say. My 2024 Women's Wrestler of the Year is Bayley.
Huh.
I just thought like, especially in the middle of the year, she was like constantly involved in, some like major storylines. She was constantly like in like pay-per-view matches or matches on TV. She managed to pull a handful of great matches out of Nia Jax, of all people, that like really had me convinced for a little bit. Oh, Nia Jax has really improved. Like these matches are really entertaining. And then that kind of fell apart towards the end of the year. And I think I realized, it's probably just because she was wrestling Bayley. But yeah, I just think that she may have not had like many flashy moments this year, but she really, really did a great job of like supporting the women's roster this year. And I gotta give her flowers for that.
Yeah, it's mark of a great professional wrestler. I mean, you come in the clutch,
I think if you looked at this year without Bayley, they would probably just dissolve the women's division. Like she carried SmackDown for the whole year.
Yes. That's the thing. Like if Bayley was involved in the match, you at least knew it was like not going to stink. Like it was,
we might get a show intro.
Be solid.
She might do that sunset flip buckle bomb, and we're getting an intro.
Yeah.
And she has some strong knees, carrying the women's division and all that ass.
Speaking of ass,
yep. So my pick for the Women's Wrestler of the Year is same thought process as the men's for me. I look at my list of my favorite matches this year, and whoever appeared most, that's my Wrestler of the Year. So looking at the women's matches for this year, my Women's Wrestler of the Year has got to be Io Sky.
Hey.
I think she had kind of like a quiet year in the sense that looking at this list and a lot of my favorite matches for the women's division this year were on television. She had a match with Bianca in September on Raw. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was
her performance throughout the Queen of the Ring tournament, especially the match against Shayna Baszler on Raw, was incredible. Her match with Bayley at WrestleMania was fantastic.
Yes.
And she's been really coming on, like her performance in War Games at the end of the year this year. Her match with Liv Morgan at what is it called? Saturday Night's Main Event was really good. Like Io Sky just really a kind of a comeback year for her. In a way. And I'm excited to see what she does next year because she's, still riding that wave of momentum as we speak. So,
and I like her silly little taunt to where she do like the 2 front flips and the kip up.
Yeah. And it seems like she's turning a little more babyface recently. So,
I mean, the whole group is babyface, but
yeah,
she's figuring it out.
I want to see how that plays out and into the next year. So, Io Sky, Women's Wrestler of the Year.
Good pick.
Well,
good pick.
I was fucking wrong. I didn't pick the same wrestlers B-Rob at all.
I know.
But I did struggle with this one a bit because I feel like while there have been excellent choices, I also considered Bayley, Io as well. Mariah May I did not consider. But the point is, like, there hasn't been mega standouts. Like, hang on. It has to be.
Did you say MAGA?
No, there's been a lot of those.
I don't think she is a MAGA standout.
I hope not.
But she does come from the land of MAGA, and that is NXT, because I have picked an NXT wrestler as Women's Wrestler of the Year, and that would be Roxanne Perez.
Jada Parker.
Oh,
no.
There.
Absolutely not. Maybe on the worst of awards.
Oh, come on. Don't do that.
We'll see. Stay tuned for the Patreon. Roxanne Perez has absolutely carried NXT because the show is generally pretty terrible on a consistent basis. Yeah. But if she's wrestling, it's going to be good. and
I
she
can
has
agree.
carried the division. She's been the champion for almost the whole year, I think, and has killed it with like that Jordan Grace match. You thought she was going to get steamrolled. Not only was it a great match,
Yeah.
she won. Everything she does has just been fantastic. And similar to Osprey, I hope she has a great 2025 that is bigger and better than this year, because she's more than ready for the main roster.
Yeah.
And
I think the turn will happen after Rumble for her.
she'll be in the Rumble again. How many Rumbles? She's been in like 30 Royal Rumbles at this point.
They need to turn her babyface though. She just doesn't work as a heel for me.
It's hard to believe as a heel.
Yeah,
She's
she
hard
got
to
that
believe.
shaky voice.
I think it works. Like, she has her moments, but yeah, she's not the perfect heel in the world. But that doesn't change the fact that she's tremendous in the ring.
Yes.
So with that clears up our Women's Wrestler of the Year. We're going to go into one more category before the break.
Most improved performer.
Most improved performer. I don't know if you can look at a list of best matches this year and say that one. This is more purely opinion based. I don't know, Cody, I'm looking forward to how you came to this opinion. But across the board, I would say in 2024 specifically, most improved for me has to be Liv Morgan, who has basically been given free reign to carry like a lot of Raw. Like, she is a star at this point after this year. She's great in the ring. She's noticeably getting better every single time she's out there. But with Rhea getting hurt and somehow keeping Judgment Day, like, Judgment Day was supposed to be dead in January of last year or this year, and they've now kept it alive because of her character. Everything she does, I think, is drastically improved over what she was doing in previous years. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys say, because I couldn't think of anybody else for this category.
Interesting. Yeah, I do agree. Like, I feel like for the longest time, Liv, her whole character was just like, am I finally going to win the big one? That was like the main chase.
Right,
for
and
her
she did
character
that
for the longest time. Yeah, and she did that, and then she kind of,
and then she floundered again.
Yeah. So I think what she's doing now is like fresh and interesting, and she's been able to evolve the character too, past like what it kind of initially was with her dynamic with Rhea and Dom. So yeah,
she also had that match with Becky that I recall being excellent, where Becky still won.
Oh yeah,
short. It was a while ago. Yeah, Liv Morgan's my most improved.
Okay. I don't know that I entirely agree with it, but I respect it.
I hate her laugh.
Listen,
but I think
we
she's doing
don't
that on
judge.
purpose. I think she's doing that bad laugh on purpose.
So no, I don't really have any kind of scientific or algorithm here for deciding this one. This is based purely off of vibes. And the vibes this year were that my choice for most improved is someone who, in years past, I very publicly hated. I didn't enjoy watching anything this person did. And this year changed that for me. And that is Drew McIntyre.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I already wrote down LA Knight, though. Could you?
No. Yeah, Drew McIntyre went from someone who I just, his first run in WWE, he was such a non-factor to me. I had no real opinion of him. He was very whatever. He came back to WWE, a lot of hype. In NXT, I thought he was kind of a weak champion. He got called up to the main roster, and I did not enjoy anything he did. I found him incredibly boring. I thought I hated those weeks where it was like him and Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler on Raw every week doing the same shit. I hated everything during the pandemic. I thought he was like completely undeserving of being the guy at that time. Couldn't stand it. Didn't like watching his matches, his promos, anything. His program with CM Punk this year completely changed my opinion on him. And, the year prior, he was still boring to me, but at least when he was with the right person in the ring, he could put on a good match, like his triple threat match at WrestleMania with Gunther and Sheamus, for example. but this year, the character work just completely made me actually interested in him as a character and as a human being. And he got to show personality. And so far, he's only been out of the Punk program for a few weeks now, and his stuff with Sami Zayn and things like that, and his Bloodline quest is actually makes sense and is interesting. So, just I've done a 180 on Drew McIntyre, and so therefore he's my most improved.
Nice.
Well, my pick is someone that I feel like I'll just go ahead and say it's Lyra Valkyria is most improved.
What the hell?
Me.
Good job.
And for that, I mean,
forgot she existed. Where has she been?
she hasn't been around lately. That's true, but she is someone that when she was the one that took the NXT belt off of Becky, right? And I remember thinking at the time, like, boy, like why her? Like, because I'm like,
boy, Paul, how can you spell that?
I'm working on it.
It was like just someone I really wasn't that impressed with at the time. And then as her title reign went on, I was just like, yeah, I don't see it. And then like as soon as they took the belt off her and called her up to the main roster, I was just like, it puzzled me more and more. But I think it was around the time that she had her match with Nia Jax at the King and Queen of the Ring that I really started to see the potential. And now, like Lyra Valkyria, whenever she shows up in a match, I kind of like, stand up and pay attention. So I think that, yeah, she's gone from someone that I really did not even care that much about, like didn't think she was bad, but just like couldn't care, into someone who now I find her matches interesting. So good on Lyra Valkyria.
Okay. So for me, kind of in the same vein with Cody, I didn't have a particular science to this, just like who I've been feeling, catching the vibe from and whatnot. And it was somebody that I noticed, and they started to get a little more popularity, a little more screen time and everything. And every time they were on a camera or just whatever role they were given, they killed it. So
Chris Jericho? That's crazy. Didn't
I will stab you in your face. No, it is not Thunder Rosa. It is one Miss Harley Cameron.
Huh.
She
okay.
is hilarious. Yes.
Okay.
She is hilarious, man. Just like so much so that like they give her extra airtime. She's in their AEW merchandise promo commercials and everything. They give her a platform now and whatnot. And I really fucking enjoy the work that she does and whatnot. And I hope it leads to something into 2025. But for right now and this year, fucking killing it.
I'm shocked nobody picked Kyle Fletcher, honestly.
He was already good.
People say
He's
that.
already good.
People say that. They were wrong. He needed to shave his stupid little haircut for him to actually get good.
He did the thing that he knew he needed to do.
Shaving the hair was a huge improvement, so much.
And changing the gear.
Yeah, that's how you qualify for most improved. Sometimes it's a simple little gimmick. Shinsuke Nakamura could have won here. Like,
no, absolutely not.
Massive change year over year. Anyway,
from diarrhea to shit.
No, that's Lyra Valkyria.
Her name is Valkyria. So we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors. And when we come back, we'll be going over the awards for Best Group, Feud of the Year, Event of the Year, and Moment of the Year. And later, Best News of the Year, Women's Match of the Year, Men's Match of the Year, all that and more. So stick around in your podcast for more awards.
This holiday, BMW has reunited 3 members of the family at the BMW Road Home Sales event. The Agile X3, engineered for any adventure. The plug-in hybrid X5, commanding the streets with unmatched presence. And the all-electric i4, charging into the future with impeccable performance. Hurry in to find what powers your journey at the BMW Road Home Sales event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Visit Valley BMW Center today for attractive lease and finance offers.
It can get lonely climbing Mount McKinley, so to entertain myself, I go to ChumbaCasino.com. At Chumba Casino, I can play hundreds of online casino-style games for free, like online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Plus, I get a daily login bonus. It's just too bad that up here, I don't have anyone to share my excitement with. Woohoo!
Live the Chumba life. Anytime, anywhere. Play for free now at ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Best Group of the Year.
Groups also encompasses, stables, tag teams, and everything. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And then this is for everybody. I have a runner-up group, which is the tag team of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. But the tag team, ultimately, that I settled on for my group of the year is Fraxium. I love them boys, man. They just fucking ridiculous on every level, and they just, once they get in the ring, they fucking perform. They started off kind of rough in the beginning. It was kind of like a jokey joke team or whatever. They were rivals that became friends, that became a tag team, that became champions. And I just enjoy all their hijinks and just their competitive nature, and I'm looking forward to see what that leads them to in the future.
Well, I'm also going to pick a WWE team, but main roster. And I'm going to pick the Judgment Day. Which
version?
Well, I mean, there's been like, I think
all of it.
I think yes. Yeah, exactly, Paul.
All of it.
And I have a feeling like other people will maybe speak more to this, because I have a feeling Judgment Day will be a popular pick. But yeah, they like, even after the Cody and Roman stuff that really did a lot of the heavy lifting at the beginning of the year, the Judgment Day story just became so compelling. It became the story to follow on the main roster. Like, it became the reason to watch Raw for me for most of the year. So that alone is like big props, big flowers for the Judgment Day.
Yeah. It was either one or the other. It was Bloodline on the blue side and
it's definitely not
Judgment Day on the red side.
Yeah. If you want more Bloodline talk, sign up for the Patreon.
This was one of the hardest awards for me to pick. I'm not going to lie. I feel like 2024 was a really bad year for tag team wrestling. And arguably a worse year for stables. Judgment Day were enjoyable at times, but they jumped the shark for me a long time ago. Bloodline is just garbage in its current state. AEW has 1 billion stables and 0 good ones.
That's because their job is stables. The stables are their corn. They heat their house with stables.
What are they, horses? So I guess I have to give it to a tag team, but again, tag team wrestling was really uninspiring this year. Like
across the board, it's really not been that great.
Like, there's one standout tag match for me this year, and we'll get to that later. But like, I guess I have to give it to Fraxium also.
Hey!
Wow.
Because like,
Pew, 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 pew.
when I think about like, okay, what tag teams did I get the most enjoyment out of this year? And I guess it's them. When I would put on the NXT PLEs, like, usually the best match of the night involved them. So yeah, congrats Fraxium, I guess.
Okay answer.
I also like that Paul is refusing to spell Fraxium in the note and is instead just saying Nathan Frazier.
Put their whole fucking names.
I just don't want to forget next year when we go over this and we're like, who the fuck is Fraxium?
And then he didn't even just copy paste it. He just typed the whole thing.
It's easier to type than copy and paste. Anyway, speaking of copy and pasting, my answer is also Judgment Day. because because there was a period of time last year where it was like, fuck, Judgment Day again, closing out the shows. And then there's a period of time this year where it's like, oh, they're going to split them up. They're done. And then somehow they managed to make them wildly entertaining this year with the R-Truth stuff and kept them going. And then the split, which I think has gone perfectly. Rhea Ripley's injury, probably a blessing in disguise. And I don't know, it's just all been great. Even what they've become, I find to be very enjoyable. Like, they went from we're a tough, spooky stable to we are schoolyard children, but I quite enjoy it.
In their clubhouse.
And they still hang out in their clubhouse, and they all Liv Morgan hates Finn Balor. Like, I think we're looking at another Judgment Day split at the beginning of next year. And if we're talking about them again this time next year, and I'm giving them best group, I cannot wait to see what they become. Yeah. But I find them to be quite enjoyable. Judgment Day split and a Fraxium split. Weird that nobody picked any stables in AEW, considering they're all stables.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the problem with AEW is that their stables tend to just be, here's some guys.
Nathan Frazier was in AEW for a small, brief time.
Why don't we go to our next category, which could be a clean sweep, but I bet it's not, just for the sake of being a pain in the ass.
Feud of the year.
Guys, it's CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. I don't think there's a question on this one.
You just typed it all in the note.
Across the board for everybody. A clean sweep, I assume. My choice for Feud of the Year, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. These guys didn't wrestle for 6 fucking months, and they made an interesting program out of it. I don't... Sure, the first match was kind of a dud. Strap match wasn't amazing. But when it was all said and done, I don't think there's anything that tops this feud this year. And the Hell in a Cell was perfect use of violence in a place that we don't normally see violence. Super earned. And even the follow-up from it has been very strong. Like, they've thankfully been kept away from each other, and it's spun off into other programs just because of everything that happened. Like, it wasn't forgotten. Punk getting thrown into the Judgment or the Bloodline stuff, leading to, like, I don't know. It's just, it's like they took a fucking board with string on it and made it all make sense. If this was a Vince McMahon year and CM Punk got hurt in January, we just would not have heard from him in 7 months. And instead, he was there nearly every week doing angles and working a program with Drew, who was also at the same time carrying his weight of this program too. This is a 2-part job. I think both guys delivered across the board. Yeah, we could only wish to have programs this strong.
Yeah, didn't we get the meme out of that with him just like turning and facing the camera?
Yeah, it was perfect. Even the WrestleMania spot was great. That was supposed to be a triple threat match that we would have blown over and we would move on by now. And here we are setting up possibly next year's Feud of the Year between Seth and CM Punk.
I have to disagree with Paul.
No, you don't.
I do, because I thought their first match and the strap match were amazing. It's absolutely the Feud of the Year. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. I don't know how anybody could consume professional wrestling in 2024 and not say that this was the Feud of the Year. It had absolutely everything you could want out of professional wrestling.
Wait till you get to my pick.
It had a sense of realism. It had biting promos. It had, good payoffs, good story beats. Like, I don't care what you say. People might be, there might be some discourse about the friendship bracelet involvement. Yeah. I liked it. I thought it was very good. I thought it was symbolism. I thought it was, added an extra element to the story that, could be, it was an emotional beat that had a visual representation, and I liked that. It sold merch, it sold tickets, it did like this story did everything you could possibly want out of a professional wrestling story, and the payoff was absolutely incredible. A 5-star classic in the Hell in a Cell. So how could you not give it to this?
Yeah, now you've got a special limited edition collector's version of the CM Unk friendship bracelet.
I sure do.
Yeah, this one was tough for me. I feel like there's there's a handful of options. I wouldn't say that there were like a lot of great feuds this year, but there were like in both companies like some pretty compelling feuds to follow.
No, you sure are saying a lot of words to get to CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre.
So that's what you're doing right now.
My heart wants to say Hangman versus Swerve.
Okay, but now use your brain.
The moments like obviously the house setting on fire is
the
an
blood
all-time image. The blood. But the problem with it was that it was just a little too truncated before their all-out match. I really wish that it was something that was more present throughout the year. Cody versus Roman, which was really more Cody versus The Rock more than anything. But just the back, like behind the building brawl next to the bus. Again, all-timer like imagery there. But I do have to say that I agree with Cody and Paul.
Hell yeah.
That CM Punk
Good
versus
answer.
Drew
Good
McIntyre is the feud of the year because kind of like for everything you guys said, and also just that it was the most present feud throughout the feud lasted for months and it was constantly part of the show. Like there would, be like some
the whole time too.
Like they're, getting in a brawl backstage or, like the garage door opens and, oh no, it's Drew McIntyre. He's murdered CM Punk. Like just, and like also being part of other people's matches, like getting, in each other's faces during like, big like moments in other people's feuds. Like it was just constantly compelling and present all year.
I think the injury piece helps too, because it wasn't just, oh, this man's recovering from an injury so he can get back and wrestle. He was recovering from an injury so he could go fight Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Good element. B-Rob, don't fuck this up with Brian Keith versus Lance Archer or something.
Why would I do that? Well, unfortunately, it's not CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre.
What the fuck?
My pick for feud of the year is
Drew McIntyre
versus CM Punk.
Yeah!
You motherfucker.
Good answer. Good answer.
Clean sweep.
Nah, fuck CM Punk first and foremost. But
let JJ in here.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it all, but I was more rooting for Drew McIntyre, and that's how it is when you have, two sides. You either with one side or you with the other side. I'm not really for the CM Punk side, but I enjoyed that Drew McIntyre got his time to shine. The story made sense.
People on both sides, B-Rob.
Sometimes shut the fuck up and let me finish.
Fine people.
But yeah, it's just damn. God damn it, Paul. You fucked it up. Yeah, there you go. Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. Let's go to the next category.
You just can't get better than it. I don't know how you do it.
Event of the year.
I'm going to go with WrestleMania. It was just a conclusion of that boy finishing his goddamn story. It was the end of, for the moment, the bloodline stuff and everything, which, it run its course. It still has run its fucking course, but I was happy to see Cody actually fucking win. So that was my moment or event of the year.
I will also have to agree and say that it is WrestleMania 40/XL. Because ever since they started doing like the 2-night thing, it feels like like one night was really good, but the other night was like not as great. But This year, like, I was kind of afraid that, like, oh, maybe, you know, the first night wasn't like going to be as hot, but because it had like the
Well, there was the fear. There's the fear around that tag match of, is The Rock going to be any good?
Yes.
Turns out
that.
he was. It was probably the best thing The Rock did this year.
Yeah,
it certainly wasn't any movie.
That's absolutely true. And then like even like looking at the second night, but like it was both nights had fantastic stuff in them and big moments that were then carried through like the whole year. And I feel like the only part that is maybe a black mark on the whole event was Jay versus Jimmy. Like, because that could possibly be one of the worst matches of the year. But yeah, just this whole event was great. It both paid off and like set up storylines for the whole rest of the year.
Yeah,
doing what WrestleMania should do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unless Paul fucks things up, I think we might have another clean sweep here because it's absolutely WrestleMania 40. It was the biggest spectacle. It had fantastic matches and it had like unforgettable moments. Like this WrestleMania will be remembered for years and years and years because of moments like Damian Priest's cash in and
Sammy and Kevin backstage before Sammy went out there.
Yes. And of course, Cody finishing the story. Like it had all those great moments and it had some really good wrestling. Like underrated match. LA Knight versus AJ Styles was a phenomenal, pardon the pun, match. Hell, even the Philadelphia street fight I had a blast with the Final Testament and what may go down as Bobby Lashley's last WrestleMania match. Sami Zayn and Gunther fucking killed it.
Also, the entrance between Jade, Cargill, Bianca, and Naomi and shit. That was fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. Great moment.
Hey,
yes.
If things stay on this trajectory, Final Testament might be a most improved performer next year.
Yeah, it was just looking back at all the events this year across all the companies, like it was just the most memorable. And for that, you have to give it event of the year.
Well, give me the green light because I'm ready to go because it's also WrestleMania 40 for me.
Hell yeah.
For all the same reasons everybody said, I think it's tough to it's one of the WrestleManias in the last several years that did everything you want a WrestleMania to do. And I feel like we've come out of many WrestleManias in the past before we would just not have a podcast. We would just talk amongst ourselves, sometimes for hours at a time.
It was also into microphones. We just weren't recording.
Weekly wrestling talk, hours at a time. Every week we would talk about stuff. And I think we'd come out of WrestleManias just being disappointed. Like, oh, you built up all this and you did that. And this is the one time where they built up all this and they did it. And then they carried it into the next set of things. It wasn't a we've ended and we are starting new tomorrow. It is a we've ended and now things are continuing properly. And it was nice not having the bloodline a little bit after that. And I think the Avengers Assemble moment to end the show and everything, like, granted, people are like, oh, they're just going to do the portal scene from Avengers. Good. Do it. Because that was so good. Like, there's a reason.
The only way that would have been better is if they had gotten Stone Cold instead of Undertaker. But
yeah, that is such a bummer that they couldn't get him. But what can you do?
Fantastic.
Yeah, another clean sweep. Let's see if we get another one right after with our next category.
Best moment of the year.
Well, I already kind of teased it, but Cody Rhodes finishing the story, I think, has to be it. Granted, it should have happened last year. There was that brief period of time this year where it might not have happened, and it could have been like Wayne and Roman, which was really stupid. Did anyone watch that bullshit documentary they pushed out?
Nah,
just like
I didn't care.
That was so. There's a slight against WrestleMania. Why tease a behind the scenes documentary during the show and then not release it for like 6 months? I think Cody Rhodes finishing the story is the best moment of the year, but it makes it even better that despite the fact that he's been on SmackDown and it's been kind of dull, he hasn't floundered. Everything that Cody Rhodes has done has been reason to tune in, with the exception of like solo matches, but that's a story for another podcast. But yeah, that's my moment of the year. Cody, your turn.
I'm going to go ahead and finish the story you just started and agree with you that Cody Rhodes finishing his story at WrestleMania 40 was the moment of the year. Just everything about it. I mean, the fact that they correctly pivoted and went back to Cody. The fact that the tag team stuff actually ended up being extremely entertaining. And the payoff was great. The Avengers moment, like you said, was near perfect. It would have been better with Stone Cold, but even Undertaker was a solid second choice, and really, like, that was a moment, and it definitely like got the attention of non-wrestling folks or lapsed wrestling fans, because I was seeing stuff from that moment all over TikTok and Twitter and all these other places, being shared by people who are not, a part of the IWC, if you will. It was great. It was fantastic. It was the exact payoff you wanted. It was emotional. The celebration after, it was a very feel good moment, something that we haven't had since Kofi Mania, probably. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Cody Rhodes finishing his story was moment of the year.
So that's very good. The Cody Rhodes finishing the story, I'm sorry, but I think I'm going to be ending the streak here of clean sweeps.
Someone's got to do it. I was worried this whole segment was going to be. We all agreed. But, see ya.
Like it is great, right? Like it was a very close like runner up for me. Like specifically during the last match of WrestleMania, when Cody Rhodes speared Roman through the barricade, something that Roman had done to other people a million times. That moment just like sent electricity through my body. It was so satisfying to see that happen like on the other end. But my breaking of this clean streak sweep, try to say that 3 times fast, is going to be the post match part of Swerve and Hangman's Texas Death cage match, because it's one moment specifically. It's after Hangman, did so much violence. Sorry, I saw Paul writing Noah is on drugs in the note. It's one moment in particular. It's after Hangman had done so much violence to Swerve that he was like basically catatonic, had like people attending to him because he was basically unconscious and bleeding all over the place. And Hangman is walking back up the entrance ramp, and he stops and he turns around and he sees Swerve in the state he's in. And he starts walking back to the ring, and he's got a worried look on his face. And then the camera zooms out and you hear the crowd just like scream, like shock, like, oh my God, like he's coming back for more. He's going to kill this man. And the screams stop Hangman in his tracks. And you see the moment of it, and he's so good. You see the moment of realization in his face of, what have I become? I have become one of the worst monsters in this company. Like the amount of violence that I am capable of, I am now afraid of myself.
He looked at his hands and asked, why is he so violent?
And it's moments like that really remind you of like kind of why professional wrestling is so special, like why it's so unique in entertainment, because it's one of the only mediums where the audience has the potential to become part of the narrative. Like, you don't have that reaction from Hangman unless the crowd reacts that way. And that is the moment from this year in professional wrestling that has stuck with me the most, and I have been constantly thinking about the most.
So we are kind of in alignment there, Noah.
Oh,
that match was batshit crazy. But the moment that really stuck with me throughout the year because of that whole debacle is Hangman setting the fucking house on fire.
Yes, God, that was also a close runner up for me.
God, man. So like, it was just wild for it to go down like that. Just the visual of him sitting in the chair in front of the house, drinking his drink and shit. And it's like, I flash back to that moment every time in my head, because when Hangman comes to the ring, that's the first thing you see in this Titantron, or, you know, whatever the fuck they call it, his video package. And it's like, I relive that moment every time I see it. And I'm like, oh, that shit was so fucking cool, you know? You know, so yeah, Hangman burning down the goddamn house.
I think these were all good answers. However, we are not done. After this break, we will come right back with the final awards for the best of 2024, including Best News of the Year, Women's Match of the Year, and Men's Match of the Year, right after this.
Whatever the adventure, there's a BMW engineered to take it on. The X3 delivers a striking design with agile performance. The 100% electric i4 packed with pure electric energy. Or the plug-in hybrid X5, an impressive, versatile SUV granting full control on every journey. Choose what powers your next adventure during the BMW Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in for exceptional offers through January 2nd. Visit bmwusa.com for details.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free, and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Best News of the Year.
We hope you enjoyed all of those lovely commercials. But it's time to continue our award show for the best of 2024. And it is now time for the award for Best News of the Year. A category that we hadn't done in our previous iteration of a show, but I feel like it's necessary considering news is like important. And the one thing that I do have for Best News of the Year, there's been a lot of wrestling news this year. But my personal favorite piece of wrestling news this year came in January of this year. And it was Kevin Dunn is leaving WWE. And I think the show has never been better. Just an absolute amazing development in the world of pro wrestling. Couldn't ask for a better guy to step aside and, do whatever the fuck he does. Rest in peace, Kevin Dunn. Production has been so much more fun without him. I haven't seen anybody complaining about camera zooms and shakes, mainly because I got off Twitter, but also it's just a much easier product to watch without him around. And I hope next year's Best News of the Year is WWE starts using real fucking music for their wrestlers.
All right. Yeah, I can't really disagree with that, but my award for Best News of the Year is something that we haven't really seen the results of yet, but it was announced this year that 2025 was going to be John Cena's retirement tour.
Ooh.
Yo,
This is my favorite news because I'm a big John Cena fan, and it hasn't really sat right with me the last few years that he's kind of just been popping in here and there, having shitty matches with Solo Sikoa,
Shitty match with Austin Theory,
shitty match with LA Knight, like tag team match.
Wait, Cena had a match with LA Knight?
A tag team match. He tagged with him, and he special refed LA Knight match. Just
right.
Some real wasting of John Cena.
I don't think you're giving LA Knight too much shade for that.
Limited time.
Who are they across the ring from?
Don't know. That's why it's bad.
And Solo Sikoa in that match.
So the fact that they announced that John Cena would be going on a retirement tour, that he's going to be working 50 plus dates, that he's going to be, competing at WrestleMania, like all these things, like this is great. Very well deserved. He should go out, with all the pomp and circumstances, and I cannot wait for January 6th.
Again, another great January 6th for you.
To see what he does on Raw and what he does at Mania and throughout the rest of 2025. So, yeah, John Cena's retirement tour was the best news this year.
My best news is maybe something like more personal to like my needs in accessibility to watching wrestling. I do not have a cable package. So the fact that Monday Night Raw is coming to Netflix and AEW coming to Max as well as like, adding their back catalog of stuff that we can finally for free, or not for free, that's finally have access to, that we have not had access to before in a way that is legal to their back catalog.
It was legal to come to my house.
Is huge for me because I don't have cable. I've been like, I mostly mooch off of my in-laws with using their password to log into browsers to watch.
Allegedly, Noah.
Allegedly. We don't have cable providers listening to this show. I don't know. Maybe they are. Hello, if you're out there, please don't get me in trouble. But yeah, that I knowing now that I like have a pretty secure way of having access to most of the professional wrestling that I care about is pretty huge. And also, and I think Paul's spoken to this before, really put a potential to grow the audience, because like people are cutting the cord more and more every day and getting streaming. How healthy that is for the entertainment industry at large, that's probably not good, but in the state of things as they are now, I feel pretty good about my immediate situation at the very least.
Word. So I didn't really have anything for this category or whatever. Cody did remind me so much of the John Cena retirement and whatnot. And another thing that did stick out in my mind, it wasn't so much as news, but it was kind of like the culmination of news previous year when that was Sting announcing his retirement and him retiring this year. So that was kind of like, I guess that would kind of like qualify as like a moment per se, but like just.
It was a newsworthy event.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just like the pomp and circumstance around that, to use that phrase again. But, I think that would be it. Like the news that he has finally planted his flag and, that was the end of his career,
And then he kept showing up.
Making appearances. No, yeah, he ain't full time no more.
Right. Well, that brings us to our mains event, because we have two more categories. The matches of the year, as chosen by us, the hosts of the show. Also, hey, best news of the year really should have been unanimous. We decided to just keep podcasting. That should have been pretty big news for some people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not mad at it.
Shout out to those people.
Way to spoil my worst news of the year.
Hey, don't give all the answers out. That costs $3 at least. All All right, let's finish this thing off. Let's finish off the best of 2024.
Women's Match of the Year.
I need to fact check my date, but like there's so many women's matches that come to mind. I do have some recency bias. Mercedes versus Hazuki just recently in December 15th at New Japan Strong Style Evolve 2024 had a freaking great match. And if you look at a couple of ranking lists, I think that match is close to the top. But the match that sticks with me, and I'm going to double check it really quick, is Athena versus Queen Amanada from, I forget which ROH pay-per-view it was, but my God, it was good. So much so that I think, it's rolled into the subscription now. So if you have Honor Club, whatever events ROH does is rolled into the subscription. But this match was so good. I watched it live, and then I went back to the Discord, invited more people to my house to watch that match individually by itself again, so other people can put eyes on this match because it was that fucking good. And I'm just like, man, it's just, I thought it was a moment in freaking Athena's 2-year plus reign now, to where she had potential to drop that title to somebody, and this would have been a good pick in Queen Amanada. So that is my match of the year of 2024.
My match of women's match of the year 2024 is going to be Chris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale in the street fight that they had at AEW All Out. That All Out pay-per-view was really good. That was honestly, like, when I was looking at events of the year, that was on the short list. But this street fight was like, because street fights, I feel like, are like a bit of a cheat code because they are a spectacle, and for the sickos, it violence for violence sake can be easily like, ooh yeah, that it's just is very entertaining to me, whatever. And that's it's not so great for other people. But aside from the violence, I just thought that this was a really well constructed match. It had a lot of variety. Just the escalation of all the spots, really great, and I was looking at it again earlier, just like really great table spots through the announce table, the table spot off of the entrance ramp that Willow took was nuts. The way that the match kind of like towards the end turned into a chain match where they like put wrist chains on each other and started using that like kind of like a strap match but with a big chain, or I guess like a dog collar match but on wrists instead of necks. Just excellent stuff, and a great way to end that feud, which had kind of been going on a little too long, but a really great way to like finally put a button on it. And that's definitely the women's match that has stuck with me the most this year.
All right. Sorry, I got to pull up my list here. My women's match of the year. We got to go way back. This is definitely not recency bias, because this was the first match that I put on my match of the year list. This was back at the WWE Elimination Chamber, Perth. Becky Lynch versus Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton versus Liv Morgan versus Raquel Rodriguez versus Bianca Belair in an Elimination Chamber match. This, I think, was one of the best Elimination Chamber matches, man or woman, of all time. This match was fantastically wrestled. It was well paced. It was well booked. It was a absolute coming out party for Tiffany Stratton. Really set her up for what was a breakout year for her in 2024. She would later go on to win Money in the Bank. I don't know. I absolutely loved this match. One of Becky Lynch's last great performances before stepping out of the spotlight. It's looking like she'll be back in 2025, but she was gone for most of this year. Liv Morgan, who Paul spoke very highly of earlier on this show. This was kind of the start to her big 2024. Just a fantastic match. I thought they blew the other Elimination Chamber match out of the water that night, and it was a lot of fun. So that is my women's match of the year.
All right. Well, I'm coming in with something wild that I don't think anyone's expecting. My women's match of the year, I struggle with this one because there's tons of stuff that was obviously very good, but a lot of it didn't stick with me. But the one thing that does stick with me came from Saudi Arabia. And it was not a match I expected to ever have. People I never expected to have in this category. But it's Lyra Valkyria versus Nia Jax.
Yeah.
The spot where she goes for the powerbomb and Nia crushes her has occupied space in my brain since. And it lives rent free. And I remember that match being way better than anyone expected, but also good. Not just, they over-delivered and we thought it would suck, but it was actually very good. So that is why I've gone with Lyra and Nia for my women's match of the year. Which does bring us to our final set of awards to give out.
Men's match of the year.
Well, we finally made it to our final best of award, and I think it could be a clean sweep, but it probably won't be because I think some people are going to get real cute with it. But I think we'll have some pretty good options here that we can all revisit in a few years and be like, you know what, 2024 is a good year in wrestling. So good that we got CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in a Hell in a Cell match that fucking ruled. It was so good. So that was my match of the year. I avoided certain matches because I don't particularly enjoy the super violent nature of them. So I don't want to watch them. And I thought this one was appropriate earned violence in a way that wasn't like a turnoff. And also it wasn't like wildly disgusting. That said, the Claymore that missed onto the steps might have been one of the most painful things I've ever seen in wrestling. But yeah, my match of the year goes to the feud of the year and some wrestlers of the year, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell. At Bad Blood? I think so.
Yeah.
Cody.
All right.
Make me proud.
This is going to surprise a lot of people.
Not me.
But my match of the year goes to Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks from AEW Revolution.
That's a good pick.
This match was incredible. First, let me say, I agree with what Paul said. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, I said it earlier in the show, 5-star classic, possibly the greatest Hell in a Cell of all time. It was so good. But there was just something about this Sting retirement match, man. The fact that it was a retirement match, the fact that it was a culmination of what was a really, really fun tag team in Darby Allin and Sting. The fact that it had just some of the most incredible spots I've ever seen. Darby Allin's fall off the ladder to the floor through the glass.
Through the glass.
Was
It looked like he was dead.
one of the most insane things I have ever seen in pro wrestling. And while I agree with Paul in the sense that I'm not usually for the ultra violent stuff, it was fucking cool, man. There's nothing else to say. This match was it was perfect, and I had an absolute blast watching it. And yeah, it was the match of the year.
I will say my ultra violent opinions are strictly limited to like murder weapons,
Syringes.
syringes, ball peen hammers, things like that. Falling through glass, I think, is fine.
So this one was tough for me because I feel like there's a lot of matches that were great
Too
for
much
different reasons this year.
Yeah.
For a lot of the year, I was thinking Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, not just because it finally, ended the hell reign that was, Roman Reigns's title reign of just like boring main event after boring main event, and ended up like actually surprising us, like, oh, like Roman Reigns can wrestle. You may have forgot, but sometimes he can really pull it out. And like that match was just great. But then also I feel like the match that the online community is probably the easy pick is Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson from was that AEW Dynasty? I believe that's where that match happened. Specifically, and this was close for moment of the year too, was when Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay were staring at each other from opposite turnbuckles. Yeah. Bryan Danielson starting the yes chant, Will Ospreay taking off his shoulder pad to do the hidden blade, and then colliding in the center of the ring was just so incredible. And also just that match from top to bottom was so great. But my match of the year is going to be the same as Cody's. It is Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks in Sting's retirement match, because it is just it's everything that Cody said, and just it's also just so sentimental about Sting's career. And also, like, I've been watching over the past couple of years, have been watching like 90s era WCW, so I've seen a lot of Surfer Sting, and it just seeing his sons come out cosplaying as Surfer Sting and Crow Sting and doing all that stuff with him was just so good. And also Ric Flair was there, which is like reflective of his career. Just an incredible way to send out like one of the greatest legends in the business. Just so fantastic. And also Darby Allin falling through the glass was insane.
Word. This is hard because I want to pick Roman Cody. I want to pick, just as Noah said, Ospreay and Bryan from Dynasty. There's a match that sticks out in my brain that I know not a lot of people would have seen that I want to pick, but I will give an honorable mention. And that's my former wrestler of the year from another show that we used to do, Mike Bailey versus Takeshita in Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, Forged in Excellent.
Wow.
So
deep cut.
Yeah. I mean, it's from this year. It's from October. And it was a really good match. And I want to put that company on the map because they're doing some good shit over there. But the real match that I want to put in for my male wrestling match of the year is what I said before. Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. Dynasty as well.
Yeah.
It's just that moment. And I also wanted to go with Swerve and Will Ospreay, but like you hear what I'm saying, mostly in all my picks, Will Ospreay. He's just the guy, man. And it's just like
he's so good. Some of us picked him as wrestler of the year.
Yeah, even like the match with Swerve, They had a similar moment. I think like how Brian and freaking Ospreay did, to where like they both ran at each other and tried to do the move or whatever. You caught the fucking house call and all kinds of shit in the head. So, I mean, Will Ospreay is the man. It's just, and Takeshita. I got so many Takeshita matches that stick out in my brain. I mean, shit, hell, he went up against Will Ospreay too, you know? And it's just like, I don't know, man. But yeah.
That Dynasty match is
match
also
Dynasty.
what started the narrative of Ospreay being terrified of using the Tiger Driver.
Yeah.
Because it almost killed Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, this is true. And we still haven't got like somewhat of a payoff from that moment or whatever, to where like Ospreay is going to snap. He's being good at two shoes right now. And then, you know, you got Fletcher to be the bad guy, but Ospreay is going to snap one day and it's going to be glorious. I'm telling you. I've been telling you that since he came into this company.
Well, we did it. What a year. I think it's a very positive episode, but there's a lot of good shit this year.
A lot of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2025 looks very promising to be, unless something crazy happens, one of the best years in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I look forward to doing this podcast again next year. But in the meantime, I will say, folks, we didn't get all of it. Because the worst of show is right around the corner at patreon.com/fatal4pod. We'll be bringing you the worst of 2024 exclusively to Patreon. In the meantime, if you are not there, catch us in your feeds every Friday morning. And yeah, that is it for the Didn't Get All of It 2024 Year-End Awards Best of 2024. See ya.
You've been listening to a Fatal 4 podcast. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts and visit fatal4pod.com for more episodes, merchandise, and info on the Patreon.
This holiday, BMW has reunited 3 members of the family at the BMW Road Home Sales event. The Agile X3, engineered for any adventure. The plug-in hybrid X5, commanding the streets with unmatched presence. And the all-electric i4, charging into the future with impeccable performance. Hurry in to find what powers your journey at the BMW Road Home Sales event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Visit Valley BMW Center today for attractive lease and finance offers.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.